I have to tell you something. Are you sure you have to? Yes, because you're going to hear about it from someone since you know everybody in this town. Not really. Everybody knows me, but I don't necessarily know them. Fair enough, but you'll hear about it somehow. So, it's better that you hear it from me. Is it something that'll ruin the moment? I hope not. Don't tell me. Please, God, don't let her tell me. Make her shut up. I have to. It's important for you to know. Sigh. I had a long gulp of wine, and so did she. I'm sort of seeing somebody. Shit. But it means nothing, she added quickly. Okay. What the hell does that mean? It's just that loneliness is a cruel bitch. So there's this guy that likes me, and I agreed that we'd see each other, but it means nothing. There are no emotions involved. So, keep your mouth shut, I thought. So it's just sex, I said stupidly. Stupid, stupid me. Exactly! I don't know what my face did at that moment, but I can imagine because she became alarmed. No, she said, looking genuinely sad. You hate me now. And I did. Honestly, at that moment, I wanted nothing to do with her, but I thought bitterly, this is the closest I've ever gotten, and I would never get this close again. It was now or never, and if I let my heart get in the way, tomorrow, when I regret it, it'll be too late. Far too late. Swallow your pride, kid. Swallow it and do what you came here to do. She's here, isn't she? She came here to be with you. It must mean something to her, right? And she's truly regretting the stupid-ass thing that she just confessed to me. She doesn't want to blow it either, and she knows she just did. God damn. God damn. Ariana, why the hell do you have to tell me that? She's a slut. Shut up, brain. But she is. Shut up! There's scratches. I'm not going to read that part. Shut up, brain. For God's sake, shut up. I lifted the foot she'd stretched to me, slipped off her flip-flop, and dropped it beside the couch, and began to massage her. The only way to keep from feeling hurt and get past the awful news was to switch to autopilot. Canned response. Just say what you know will work and get on with it. Maybe she'll stop seeing the other guy when you show her what you can do. Maybe you'll be disappointed in her and drop the whole thing. Whatever. Anything is better than throwing in the towel. Once, I said, a man traveling in the mountains was attacked by a tiger. He ran with the tiger hot on his heels. He didn't have a chance of outrunning it, so when he came to a steep cliff, he grabbed a wild vine and jumped, swinging himself down over the edge. But there was nowhere else for him to go. He just hung there, barely out of reach of the tiger's swiping claws. The tiger sniffed at him from above. My thumbs kneaded their way up to her instep to the ball of her foot, and she shifted on the couch, taking another drink of her wine. Her feet were a little dusty, as if she'd walked around barefoot before coming here. Didn't matter, though. It couldn't matter. This was the only time this would ever happen, so I rubbed as much dust off as I could without being obvious. Trembling, the man looked down, and he saw crocodiles watching him far below, waiting for him to fall. Only the vine sustained him. Then a tiny mouse peeked out of a hole in the cliff face and started to nibble at the vine. As the vine began to stretch thinner and thinner, he knew he was doomed. Then the man saw a wild strawberry growing from the vine. Smiling, he plucked and ate it. How sweet it tasted. I looked at her while massaging her arch, the spot that helps your kidneys, watching her sigh with pleasure. This is an old Zen Buddhist parable about simply enjoying the beauty of the present moment with no attachment for the past, that's the tiger, or fear of the future, those inevitable crocodiles lying in wait, and being truly alive every second of your life, even the last one. I bent my head and kissed her littlest toe. Her eyes opened into slits and she watched me like a witch's cat. My tongue peeked out to touch her skin. It tasted of dust, but I decided I didn't care. I couldn't care. I had to take it as it came. Kissed the second, and she purred, saying, "That tickles." "You don't like it?" I asked quietly. "I love it. This little piggy went to market," she giggled. I ran my tongue along the undersides of her toes from the smallest to the largest, between the first and second knuckles, and back again, licking around each toe in a slalom, and finally slipping the last one into my mouth. Her other foot shook off its flip-flop and sat on the bulge in my jeans, massaging me. I was suddenly conscious of what her ex had said years ago at my friend's house, that she had seen the size of him and couldn't help herself. That made me nervous. I'm only normal size, not huge like him, and she might be disappointed. I would have to outdo myself with foreplay first so she wouldn't mind. I started pulling on the fabric of her jeans, and she got the hint. Unbuttoned and unzipped them as I passed my tongue around and between her toes, with Hugh Masekela covering Cantaloupe Island on the stereo. Basking in the moment I'd been waiting for my whole life. She lifted her bottom off the couch to slide her jeans over that perfect swell, and I tugged them off gently, bunching them up in folds in my hands, watching her perfect legs appear. The foot that massaged me lifted up into the air, pointed like a ballerina's, and reluctantly I let the toes of her other foot slip out of my mouth with a wet smack. I pulled her jeans off slowly, savoring it, and she left those legs in the air to give me room. I sat up, leaned forward to kiss the smooth skin on either side of her green-striped panties, smelling a most intoxicating fragrance. She seemed to want her slipper panties off right away, but there was no hurry. The quicker I got them off, I thought, the quicker this would end, and the last enchanted thing in the world would cease to be a mystery. I felt her fingers in my hair and kissed her next to the line of fabric, gradually slipping my tongue underneath it, closer and closer, only to back away and frustrate her, creeping closer like the tide coming in. Finally, impatiently, she reached with her other hand to hook 2 fingers inside her panties and yanked them aside, and there it was, the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, except for her smile. I kissed it lovingly, listening to her breath hitch, the sound of her heartbeat pounding in my head from the thighs she pressed to my ears. I could have stayed there forever, but... Suddenly, she grabbed me by the collar and pulled me up to kiss her, and fumbled at my belt. I flexed like crazy to pump myself up as much as I could. She undid my pants and shoved them down, while I stepped them further with one foot then the other until they bunched up around my ankles. I don't wear underwear unless it's really hot, because you never know when this might happen, just so it won't be awkward if it does. And there I was in front of her, terrified that I wouldn't compare to her ex, that she'd be disappointed. Shame she didn't let me finish with my mouth, so it would not be much of a problem. Shut up, brain. She wrestled off her t-shirt, and I reached around to take off her bra, and suddenly I forgot how to undo one. Either it was a booby trap or some new style, or God forbid, I just didn't know how. Damnedest thing. And she snorted her derision and reached back to help me unsnap it, and I felt inadequate. Me, the incorrigible Johnny Yen. I'd practiced opening a bra with one hand for so long, and now I fumbled like a child. Her breasts came free, firm and perky, and perfect. Trying to regain some confidence, I clenched my abs hard as I could and pulled my shirt off over my head, giving her time to watch my stomach ripple. I stiffened when I felt her fingertips stroke them lightly, and I remembered the way she stroked my bicep that one morning, and allowed myself a smug little smile. Her ex may have had a giant cock, but he didn't have these. Her fingertips traced my washboard down to my tan line, light as a feather dragging across my skin, and she lay back on the couch cushions, taking a hold of me and guiding me to her. She pulled me on top of her, saying, "See, see, see," and slipped me inside. It felt strange. It didn't feel like any of the hundreds of other times where, even if it was just pointless sex in my car in the parking lot of a nightclub, there'd been a connection. This was empty. I tried to hold on to some kind of emotion, some gratitude that was actually happening, whether it was good or not, but it was just empty. I saw in that moment that, though her body lay in my arms, her heart was beyond the farthest star. And then I heard it, something I'd never heard in real life, something I'd only ever heard in insincere porn that I either put on mute or turned off altogether. A woman faking it. Not once in my life had that ever happened until now, at this, the thing I had spent my entire life preparing for. Hell no. I thought, fuck that. There is no spoon. I pulled out of her, surprising her, and when she tried to sit up, I forcefully moved her on that narrow couch to where I wanted her, knelt on the floor beside her, put one leg across my shoulder, and went back to what I was doing before. She'd been surprised by my sudden change in attitude, and was quiet for a moment, but soon a more genuine moaning began. That's more like it, I thought. I'll be damned if anyone has to fake it with me. I knew she hadn't liked it before because I was being spineless, doing what she wanted me to do out of fear of displeasing her, and had displeased her in the very act of obeying. It took less than a minute of me licking savagely to get her clawing at the fabric of the couch, grabbing my hair to almost tear it out of my scalp. Her leg lifted up off my neck to reach down, her toes groping for me, and she found me throbbing. I devoured her, putting everything I had into making her come as quickly as possible, and though she tried to stroke me with her foot, she soon lost all coordination. All she could do was rest her toes on my shaft, which was fine by me. She finally cried out, quivering all over, and trying to pull herself out of my reach. It was just too sensitive, but I held her down and took advantage of the momentum, continuing until she went limp, and then I grabbed her and flipped her roughly over. I caught a flash of her smile in the corner of her eye, her liking that I was having my way, not waiting for permission. She got on her knees, presenting her beautiful ass to me, watching me over her shoulder, squinting because her glasses were now on the table. She thought I was going to mount her then, but instead I planted a kiss on her tailbone. She purred, like giving me the green light, and I kissed my tortuously slow way down the crease of her ass, pressing my face into her two warm cheeks. She reached for my hand and snaked her fingers into mine, gripping tightly, whispering, "See, see, see." My tongue found the first wrinkles of her puckered anus and teased their way around it. There was not even the taste of sweat, which was a relief. She'd taken more care there than she had of her feet, so I made 2 slowly spiraling laps around it, coming closer and closer before startling her and pushing her cheeks wide, prying that pink star open and shoving my warm tongue inside. She gasped. I licked long, broad streaks across it, slipping in as deep as I could each time, and she shivered with delight. Her grip on my fingers tightened, and I decided now I was ready. I eased off of her, my hands pulling her waist back around to sit her down, and she came in to kiss me savagely. Her new passion reassured me, and we bruised each other with the violence of our kisses. She groped for the floor with one foot and stood awkwardly, her leg wobbling like a newborn foal's, shifted her weight and came around, trying to pull me down on top of her without interrupting our kiss, but I surprised her again. Gently pushing her down on the couch, I took one of her legs and pulled it up over the other. Now she lay on her back, but with her core twisted and her pelvis facing the wall. She looked amused as I pulled her legs apart, making her look like open scissors, until I inched my way forward and drove myself inside her. It shortened her vaginal floor so that I could feel her more deeply, making up for whatever I might lack in comparison to her ex, and rubbed her clitoris against my thigh. Her eyes went wide with surprise and unexpected pleasure, and I smugly thought, "You won't fake anything now." About 10 minutes later, I pulled out and grabbed a napkin I had stashed under the couch cushions earlier, and gasped as I came into it. I might have lasted longer, but when she came a moment before, watching me with wide-eyed look of surprise, I couldn't hold on anymore. She lay back, breasts heaving as she drank in great draughts of air, covering her face with one hand and watching me with one wide, beautiful eye. "I came before you did," she said in wonder, as if that had never happened before. I resisted the temptation to say something stupid like, "You always will." I staggered off across the garden to the bathroom to wash myself off in case we went for round 2 and a condom did not magically fall out of the sky beforehand. I came back with the bottle of wine and my abs clenched for all I was worth. My lats flexed too, for good measure, as if she hadn't just seen me relaxed. But I'm a guy and we do stupid things like that, and she watched me come with adoring eyes, and when I arrived at the table she said, "You are so handsome." I set the bottle on the table and leaned in for a kiss. "Yeah?" I asked. She nodded, kissing me sweetly. "Yeah, you're not so bad yourself." A shadow crossed her face as if she didn't understand, as if that didn't translate well into Spanish, but I didn't care. I didn't care about anything anymore. I handed her one of the glasses, poured her more wine, and watched her eyes on me as I poured myself some too. "Your little friend hasn't gone down yet." "It won't," I said. "Not for a while." "Well, you won't have to go to the gym tomorrow." I chuckled, stretching out alongside her, putting my arm around her with my glass of wine, and watched my place, the garden, the quivering leaves, and the sky. At that moment, I had everything I'd ever wanted. 15 minutes later, she was gone. I did it, I thought, standing in my garden under the stars. I had it all. And that bitter little traitor inside me said, "What now?"